Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Mark. I'm an artist and I've been working in the gaming industry for just over a year now, mainly illustrating RPG rulebooks and concept art for people's up and coming games, etc. etc. So it's a really fun job and I want to share my knowledge with you guys. So let's stick together and be awesome together. Peace. So what I'm basically going to be doing is commenting on some time lapses that I've captured on my screen and just talking you through my thought process and sharing a few little tools that you can use in Photoshop that can really help speed up your workflow, and just a few little things I've discovered along the way. So right now I'm just setting up a grid which is displaying the rule of thirds, and all that does, that just helps with your composition. And the idea is to have all your interesting elements of the painting, your focal points, across where the grids cross each other. So I'm starting this painting in Grayscale. Reason being is all I have to do is worry about my composition and my values. Values meaning my lights and my shadows. I don't have to worry about colour at all. So I can just concentrate on making the image a really nice composition. What have I done? What have I done here? Yeah, so I've just laid in some shapes, and in my mind I'm thinking about perspective the whole time. So that pink line is my eye level, or my horizon line. So that's where I imagine myself if I was standing in the scene with a camera. That's where my eyes would meet the horizon. So I'm quite low down, and I can kind of imagine if I'm looking up at all these rock formations and mountains. So I've got to make sure they look perspective wise like they're towering over me, sort of thing, because I'm really low down and I'm not level with them. They're above me, so I've got to remember that. So I normally stick with quite a low opacity brush. So the settings at the top there, you've got flow and opacity. I normally set them around 50 to 80%, so I can get a nice subtle brush stroke, and then that's good for kind of showing things in the distance and stuff like that. And at this stage of the painting, you don't want to be you don't want your lines to be too confident. It's kind of like the sketch phase. You just want to be really light and loose, and then that way, you're not too committed to anything. You're just playing, basically. You're just making shapes on the page and then changing them. It's kind of like sculpting as well. You kind of put some shapes on the page and then sculpt them to how you like. So again, here I've got my grid up. So, well, I was talking about focal points earlier. You see on the bottom left cross section there, I've made a focal point, and I've shown that by having some contrast in my values. So I've got a dark shape there, and then next to it I've got some really light highlights. So automatically your eye is drawn to that area. So the idea being, when you do a landscape, you want to guide the viewer around your scene. Like, so my idea at the minute is when you look at the picture, you're drawn to that focal point there, because of the contrast in light. And then I think eventually I'll make another few focal points as well. So yeah, we're guiding our viewer through the image. It needs to make sense. It can't be too complicated. You have to. It's all an illusion, the painting. Right, so what I'm doing here, I'm darkening some values in my foreground, because right now this element, it's on the left now. What I just did there as well, which is a good thing to do, is flip your canvas every now and then while you're painting. So it's like putting a mirror across your canvas and everything's opposite. That way you can check your composition. It gives your eye and your mind a fresh look at the composition, so you can spot any compositional errors, like, you know, if something just doesn't look right, you get a fresh look at it and you flip your canvas. And that's just, I can't explain any of that. It's just what your mind thinks looks right. There are certain rules to composition, like I say, using a grid, using the rule of thirds. There's some other ones as well, but at the end of the day, I believe that composition is just your artistic expression. Like, you can't explain it. It's just, oh yeah, that looks cool. That's a cool composition. Why? I don't know. It just looks cool, basically. So yeah, here what am I doing here? I'm using the lasso tool. So that's a pretty cool little trick. I wanted to darken my foreground, so I just used the lasso, softened the edge, and then just brought the brightness down. So that did it all for me. So again, I'm just being nice and loose. I've got my same chalk brush and I'm just darkening some values. There's no light in this area, so I've got to show that by creating some dark areas. And right now, what am I doing? Yeah, just still darkening some values. So another thing as well, you've got to imagine everything as a plane. And so what a plane is, if you can imagine just having a cube in 3D space with a light source beaming down directly above it. You've got to imagine where a plane is the faces of a cube, like each of the faces that you see, and you've got to imagine where that light's going to hit. So as you can see here, any vertical surface I'm painting, like the cliff face, the rock face, it's dark because my sun is not going to be hitting that plane of the mountain. It's going to be hitting anything that's flat. So the ground, you can see, is the flat ground is lighter than my vertical surfaces, just because I imagine if there's beams of light coming down, they're going to be hitting the surface and they're not going to be hitting behind the big rock structure or the vertical part of the rock structure. So good thing to remember. You have to remember all this stuff throughout the entire painting. Okay, so right now I'm laying down some perspective grids. So this is just a brush I purchased that does it for you. So what I'm doing now, I'm finding my horizon line again, so that's my imaginary eye level, and then I'm working out where the vanishing points are for my rock structures. So the vanishing point is where all the, oh god, how do I explain this? It's where, I don't know. It's where all the faces disappear, is that right? No, that's not right. So imagine if you used to have a perfectly straight line of trees going down a road, or a train track is a perfect example. I don't know why I wrote just stupid me there, I must have made a stupid mistake. Yeah, so if you're looking straight down a train track, and it will eventually disappear to the eye the further it gets to the horizon. So that's what I'm finding now. I'm finding my vanishing point, so I'm finding the point in which all the structures would just naturally disappear to the eye the further away it gets. So I hope that makes sense. There's a bunch of videos on perspective you can watch on YouTube, so yeah. So I've got my perspective grid laid out, and as you can see right now, I'm just, yeah, there's a perfect example. I'm painting in towards the vanishing point. So what I'm showing is that those little structures I just painted in across the yellow vanishing point, they're getting smaller and smaller the further away they get from me, but they're actually the same size as these ones close to me. I'm just showing that they're travelling away into the distance. Magic. Okay, so what I'm doing now is just defining some shapes. I'm just working evenly around my canvas. I never work on one spot for too long at the same time. I like to evenly work, so I'm not overly detailing one area and neglecting another area. So yeah, just fleshing out some shapes of the rocks and some interesting shapes and spikes and stuff. Right now I'm just, again, darkening my values. So because I haven't worked in colour yet, all I'm just interested in is my lights and darks. And tip of the day, your values, your lights and shadows are far more important than colour. Colour doesn't mean anything. This could be any colour, it wouldn't matter. If the values are off, it just wouldn't read properly. So yeah. And colour's an interesting one because you've got hue, saturation and value, and these different elements are placed in different areas of a painting. So you'd find that deep saturation, like really colourful colours, are in the shadows, and unsaturated colours are in the lights, and like I don't even know where I'm going with this. So I've got one of my special brushes here. Oh no, now I haven't anymore. I've switched on to a different brush. So another thing you'll see me do a lot is use a selection of different brushes. So I do this because it just keeps my painting lively and energetic. So I'm a big fan of texture brushes. With texture brushes, they're great because they give you detail for free. It's the kind of old Bob Ross thing. It's tricking the viewer into thinking it's detailed when it's really just texture. So yeah, you'll see me use brushes that have like a rough bristle to them. So you just do a few brush strokes and it looks like you've got a bunch of little rocks or little bits of debris. They're really cool. I like them. So right now I'm just doing a little bit of detailing now. So before I wasn't worried about detailing at all. I was just trying to get my composition. But now I'm starting to detail some areas that I want the viewer to be drawn to, like areas that I think are important. Right, so now I'm working on my background a wee bit. Oh, I've finally decided to save the file after how long? Like 20 minutes of painting. That's a really dumb idea. Imagine if my computer crashed. What would I have done? Probably just paint another one. What the frickin' hell? Oh, this is a cool little trick. This is going to be hard to explain. So what I did, I added a layer mask to my paint layer, and it was a color curves paint mask, and then I brightened the whole image on the layer mask using curves. And then what I'm doing now, I'm just painting that mask back in. So what I'm doing, I'm painting light sources, so little sections of light, hard light and bounce light that I want in my scene. So this, to me, what makes environment pieces interesting is the light. So having some dramatic lighting like I'm putting in right now, some light beams and stuff like that. Just really adds some nice, cool atmospheric look to it, and it just looks pretty epic. And yeah, I like to keep my environments mostly dark, but with a dramatic light source in there somewhere. When I look at other people's art and art I like, it all has that same thing. Like, one of my favourite films is Blade Runner, and if you notice about the lighting setup in Blade Runner, it's always like a real dark scene, gloomy, atmospheric, but then with a dramatic light source. Just one dramatic light source in the scene. Thanks for watching, guys. Part 2 will be coming up. In part 2 I will be showing you how to colour a grayscale image. So that should be fun, shouldn't it? Yeah, so take care of yourselves and peace. Woo-hoo-hoo! Hints and tips and shit. My eyes look really tired. I'm still really hungover. Ugh. So the type of tutorials to painting that's helped me learn fucking that was shit, wasn't it? Right, again. Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Yeah, and it's all going to be for free. That was shit. That was a really shit take. So stick around and follow my channel if you want some decent advice, because I'm fucking amazing, obviously, and I know everything about art. So yeah, subscribe, bitch. No, I can't say that.